Howdy, folks. Welcome back to PEEKABOOS, the segment where we come fresh out of a horror movie, go straight to the mic, and today, as the art might have clued you off, is Alien Romulus, the seventh movie in the Alien franchise. And I finally got an excuse to get my boy Eric behind the mic for once. He edited all of season 1 for me, and then he couldn't fucking stand it anymore.
It's my favorite show. What are you talking about?
I'm really happy to have you on today. I've known you almost my entire life, and I've always known you to be a fan of the Alien series.
Absolutely. Well, and speaking of how long we've been friends since preschool. You might be
preschool. Literally preschool.
You might actually be my oldest friend. Like,
oh shit!
I know, this is a special moment. Like you said, I love the Alien series in general, not just thematically, but on also just what Alien represents. Beyond just being a horror creature, there's also some philosophy that sits behind it, but that's things that we can get into.
Yeah, for sure. I was actually doing a series rewatch recently just to prepare for the movie. Because I've always liked the movies. I've always enjoyed the series, but out of the original 4 movies, I don't think I've even seen the third one. I'll be honest, I don't really like aliens all that much, which is... you know, an unpopular opinion.
That is an unpopular opinion.
And I remember the 4th one very vaguely, but I know it was kind of hammy, but I like it for being hammy. It never gets better than the first one for me, but yeah, I'm a really big fan of Prometheus and Covenant. I thought those are really fun. So yeah, like 7th movie in the series. I find that sequels are kind of like pizza. On the very first slice, you're like, hell yeah. 7 slices and you're like, is it even any good anymore?
Yeah, and the 8th one, you're like, wait, there's pineapple on this?
Yeah, like, wait a minute, what the fuck? Fede Alvarez is the director. He did the Evil Dead remake, and I really enjoyed that movie. So I was very, very stoked to see this one in the theaters. I think the gap between movies was like 7 years.
It's been a while. I've been waiting for this one for a long time, and it was supposed to come out in 2023, and then it got delayed, if I'm correct. My movie knowledge and your movie knowledge are like very different. Yeah, very different. You're very
I didn't even know this movie existed until about a month ago. So.
Yeah. But like you said, 7th in the series, but it's not at the end of the series.
Yeah, there's a lot of flexibility in the Alien timeline. Romulus takes place between Alien 1 and Aliens, the sequel. It keeps that very like retro future aesthetic. Even looking at Prometheus and Covenant, everything was like smooth white walls, you know, touch screens, very clear images. And then you get to Alien and Aliens, and it's all just like very dirty Blade Runner sci-fi. What people thought the future would look like in the 70s and the 80s. I really like the aesthetic because it says something about the state of the world in these movies. Those first 2 movies, Prometheus and Alien Covenant, were like a rich person's vanity project, going to this planet to meet the predecessors of humanity and then trying to relocate human colonists to a new planet. These are big money projects. And then by the time you get to the other movies, it's just like shitty industrial.
Yeah, I mean, was it the first Alien movie? That was a freight.
Commercial freight.
Yep, yeah, exactly. And I mean, even in this one, what I thought was cool is that we actually got to see what a colony looked like.
It's like, a fucking shithole.
Yeah, it's a fucking shithole, right? And we're only used to seeing the characters without that context and that background, but that's what it would be like, especially while they're trying to look for other worlds to explore into. You know, you get this idea that, oh yeah, they're on a shithole, like they couldn't even see the sunrise.
So movie begins, we have like a younger cast. They're on this planet, almost working in indentured servitude. Like you have like a certain amount of time you're required to work before you can leave this encampment. And basically the main character, your Ripley stand-in. I don't know the names of any of the actors in these movies.
We could always identify them by their sneakers.
Those are throwbacks that I like. And I think we'll get into it a little bit later when we get into spoiler talk. But before we get too far in it, let's just give like our basic feelings on certain parts of the movie, like the performances, maybe the aesthetic, how it was filmed, the music, which is something I'd specifically like to hear from you on because A, you're a sound engineer, B, you want to see it in a Dolby theater. I thought all of the performances were pretty solid. The only complaint I had with them were there were some actors that had like accents. I have a poor ear for accents, but at times, just because of the way the sound was mixed, I had a hard time making out what some of the dialogue was. I'm going to need subtitles on a rewatch. I don't know if this was a thing in your theater too, but the dialogue was mixed just under the effects in the background, which on a first viewing where you're trying to follow things, it can be a little hard to hear. I really like the visual effects across the board. There was only one instance where I was like, well, that looks like dog shit. And I think you know what I'm talking about, but that's kind of in spoiler territory, so we'll get to that in a hot minute.
Yeah, it actually took me a second. I was like, wait, what's he talking about? I was like, oh, yeah, I know.
It sticks out like a sore thumb, unfortunately. It was filmed really well. I really like Fede Alvarez's style. And every time I see a new Alien movie, I'm like, oh, that's a benchmark for like portraying space in a movie.
So overall, positive.
Overall positive at this point, and then we'll get into more nitpicky, spoiler talk in a bit.
One thing I always like to ask people about whether they like movies or not is like, would you buy it on DVD? Would you stream it on Amazon again?
Yeah. I actually look forward to owning it at a certain point if it's not on a streaming service.
Yeah. I feel like that's always like a good benchmark. Would you buy it?
Yeah. Would you see it again? Like, how passionate do you feel you're going to be about it later?
Yeah.
Let's get into your thoughts. I'm more interested in what you have to say.
I have many opinions, right? Especially for somebody who, like I was saying earlier, loves the alien as a character. This thing just like exists and it just wants to kill you and that's it. It's very like, oh wait, I'm just another species in this entire
You're lower
scheme.
on the food chain than this perfect monster.
You're right. How it just evolves and adapts. So anyways, the sound design was good. I do agree. This is actually a very common thing where a lot of sound design now is louder than the dialogue, especially when it was mixed in a format like Dolby Atmos. And if you're not familiar with like a Dolby Atmos or a Dolby Theater, there are two major things. One is that you have the atmospheric audio, so there's speakers not just all around you in like a regular surround sound environment, but there's also speakers overhead. And the whole idea is that it's supposed to give you three-dimensional audio and that, effects are supposed to be able to like move around the theater and literally around you, not just on one plane. It's supposed to be immersive. And that's what they initially called it when it was coming out, immersive audio. And then on top of that, the screen and the projector that they use is up to Dolby like standards. So that's like a Dolby theater. And I went out of my way to experience the film, in that way, just to get the full experience in the way that they intended. But it is a very common thing, even in those environments, and especially when it gets folded down to a regular surround sound environment, all those effects that would be happening across multiple speakers in a larger space just get crunched down to just a few. And then those effects suddenly become a lot louder than the dialogue. And then on top of that, as I've noticed over the years, the volume of the average film is much louder than it was even 5-10 years ago, up to a point where it is, even for me, like uncomfortable. And I'm in front of like sound systems a lot and I mix a lot of bands. And there have been one or two films that I've gone into where it is literally painfully loud. And this is really close. So like the sound design was loud, but still appropriate. The storyline itself tried a little too hard at several points, and I know that we're going to talk about some specifics in it. Conceptually not bad. For me, there's several plot holes, and that goes anywhere from like the ship just being quote unquote abandoned above the colony, and then on top of that, we suddenly get like new information about like the face huggers.
They sense people by heat signature.
Yeah.
So if you can elevate the heat in a room, you're essentially invisible.
Yeah, but then that part came across like a video game, but I thought like overall it was okay, but it was just like, again, it just tried too hard to rewrite some of the things that we've come to understand. I do get like trying to bring in like maybe a younger, newer crowd into the series and get them hip to it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I felt like it tried to stretch too much and that we lost a little bit of the genuine horror of what this creature is. For me, it went to like, we're going to create these like really like
intricate scenarios,
yeah. Like the acid flowing in the air versus like the original Alien. There's so little to go off of, but it really just played on like raw fear.
Yeah. And that was why the first movie in the series is my favorite, just because it's very simple, but it says a lot.
Exactly. Felt like it kept you on the edge more. Whereas like this one, then the progression was so fast.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, it's the 6th sequel. We know the Alien tool set pretty well by now. Yeah. We know the face hugger, like you can't get it off. It'll choke you as you try to get it off. The blood is acid, so if you try to cut through it, you're even more trouble.
Yeah.
And like, do aliens, like individual cog aliens, become queens eventually? Is it like a B situation where like if there is no acting queen, one can become one?
That's an interesting thing. I feel like the queen has to be born. And I feel like there's actually been a previous Alien movie that maybe showed that. I don't know. Things we'll have to Google.
Into the weeds, yeah. To speak more to your complaint with the plot, this movie really did feel like a greatest hits of like what you'd expect from an Alien movie. In some situations, I really enjoyed that. I'm one of those people that really liked Force Awakens because it did make you feel like A New Hope, much more updated and like a fresh narrative, but also hitting all those same beats.
Yeah.
I think that's fine for a lot of these older IPs every now and again because it's not necessarily pandering. A New Hope was a great fucking movie.
It was.
And it gave you like a really good feeling, and just replicating that feeling for a new generation, a new audience, isn't too much of a sin as long as you start deviating and getting original with it after that. It's good to have a little bit of nostalgia. So that, I think, is the overall feeling I had with the story of this movie, is like I like seeing these things I enjoyed in the past put in maybe a new context or just doing them with a fresh coat of paint. I'm not as mad at it just because in my rewatch I haven't gotten to Aliens, Alien 3, and the fourth movie yet. So these concepts still feel pretty fresh and fun. But I can understand where things just kind of disappear up their own ass, getting way too referential with everything that happened before. Like, oh, we have to have another crawling through the vents thing. We have to have another like big shootout scene a la Aliens just to get the member berries going again. But overall, I was pretty pleased with it. And I also liked what they did at the end, which I don't know how you feel. We'll get there when we get there.
I'd say it's worth going to see in theaters. I'm a purist, right? When it comes out to the alien world, I like my alien like the way that I always get it, medium rare, right?
Yeah,
Anything else is wrong. But no, it is worth going to see in theaters, and especially bringing back Alien into relevance again. Like, I'll never get tired of seeing the xenomorph, right? Or seeing the chest burster. Like, there's just so many like classic things. Yeah.
Viewed in isolation, it's a fun experience. It's just like an episodic alien movie, which we kind of haven't had in a minute.
Yeah, and a lot of the things that even like you're saying, like, okay, yeah, I can agree with it, right? Again, it's part of things that defy my purist heart, but that's okay, right? I gotta let this go. I gotta grow,
Yeah.
I would say see it in theaters and bare minimum, rent it at home. And
it's
then
getting good reviews too. Do you think that's merited? Is it like on the better end of the series, in your opinion?
I would say it's probably mid. I don't think it's on the better end of the series for a few reasons. I mean, other Alien movies, like even the less popular ones, I thought they were a little bit more emotionally complex than this one. And something that we'll actually go into and one of the spoilers that we'll get into later, we'll talk about the ending of the fourth one and how it corresponds to the ending of Romulus and how I feel like that was actually a much better moment in number 4 than this one.
So I think we're good to roll into spoilers. If you don't want to get spoiled on this movie,
exit now.
Yeah, exit stage left. All right, man. So we are in spoiler territory.
Okay, where do you want to go first? Lots of spoilers.
Because now we can just like go to direct scenes of the movie that we were really jazzed about and we thought were cool. One of the first major set pieces with the face huggers, you were talking about the scene where they reveal that the face huggers, they don't have eyes. So they sense presence by temperature. The very first time the face huggers are released, I thought that was a really fun scene because I don't know if we've seen them travel through water yet.
So they have swum before. We actually get a hint of this in Prometheus. Like, remember like the black swampy water?
Yeah, there was like that snake. It was like a proto-face hugger type thing.
Yeah. Now, I don't think we knew that they were such adept swimmers. But, like, I think the idea, the concept, that they can move through water pretty well, I think that tracks, right? And then on top of that, like, physiologically, it still makes sense in terms of, like, using the tail in, like, multiple ways.
Yeah. It adds it later, too, because the biggest theory with the face huggers, you don't know what angle it's going to leap at you at.
Yeah.
And you can't see how many are below you in that below-knee water.
Yeah. And the fact that there are so many. Like, never before, I think, have we ever seen so many face huggers.
Like, spiders are scary.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, and when they're, like, the size of, like, fucking basketball or whatever, it's something else.
Yeah, and then they just jump at you, oh, man.
I don't think we've ever seen, like, a swarm of them jumping after people.
No. We've, I feel like in other films, we've actually seen multiple eggs opening at once. Right?
And that shit's bad. People are usually running by then, but
yeah, well, then you have a lot of people who are curious, like the first egg that opens.
Is the biggest thing,
and then the people are like, what the fuck is that?
I can't imagine any context where there's a huge weird egg opening in front of me on an alien planet, and I want to stick my fucking face in to look.
Right? I don't know. It's kind of like a train wreck. It's like you're still kind of curious.
So that's like the first major, like, they're in trouble. The monster's been aggroed scene in the movie. And one of the compliments I really want to pay to the movie is that they try to use the alien monster toolbox in ways you kind of have not seen before. So I really liked that first showing. And then the next one is that hallway scene we're talking about where they try to raise the temperature and try to, like, silently walk through without alerting them.
So you like that moment. I actually don't.
Yeah. So let's go into that.
Okay. So why do you like it? That's what I'm curious about.
It's like the moment you encounter any of these things, whether it's the face hugger, the spores, like the moment you see the egg opening, you're fucked. Just sneaking past them and just seeing them like kind of twitch and not be aware that there's something that they can attack. I haven't seen that done before. You don't have time to sit in your fear with these things much.
Okay, I can see that. I will say personally that we go from like this whole 6 movies where we have face huggers and they all act in this one way and whatever. And then we are just going to like this one detail. Oh, if we just look at it really quick, it's just temperature based. I'm like, well, first of all, we've never seen that in any of the previous 6 movies, and yet they're working on the same technology. Maybe somebody would have figured that out beforehand.
Maybe. I don't think there's been a situation where you're around it long enough for it to like kind of stalk you.
Okay.
It's usually the moment the facehugger appears, it's at you.
Yeah.
But is there anything else that contradicts that in another movie? That it's like temperature-based attacks?
No, because all the other environments have always been cool. But it's just, so yeah, I get the whole idea of like, you know, we're going to throw in a variable that we haven't seen, therefore we have the room to play with it a bit. But at the same time, like, you know, I have this idea where like the alien is this perfect creature. And then to start like introducing some imperfections.
Because the whole thing about the alien, the xenomorph as a creature, is that it was engineered to be the most effective like killer.
Yeah, like let's look at Covenant, you know, when what's his name is like engineering all the different types, you know, where
he's got his little blueprints on the wall.
Yeah, and all these different creatures and, you know, vials and just sitting there and it's all mangled and whatever. But you see all these like different manifestations of how it like kind of morphs sort of into that creature. It's almost like a really like fucked up Kirby. Right?
Yeah.
Right? Just to see all that ways that it's so adaptable no matter where it goes, and yet to have this like really like simplistic, oh yeah, it's only a temperature thing. Yeah. I think that's, and maybe it's just diminishing for me.
And that is a problem of horror movie sequels, is that they tend to over-explain the monster, and then it gets less interesting just because you have to say more about it. And yeah. I think that was people's major concerns with the prequels. It's like, there's this cool fucking monster, and then you take away from its coolness by being like, it was made by this weird, crazy android.
I was actually okay with that.
I was too. Like, I don't have problems with the prequels at all. But
I like the whole idea of like, oh yeah, this bioweapon that like actually gets out of control.
And I like the idea of like just the philosophy of it chasing its own tail. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like, who created us? Who created the aliens? What happens when our creation tampers with the creation of something else? And just, it kind of disappears into its own questions. And I like that. That's more interesting than just trying to make another monster movie with this monster we've seen before.
So one of the things that's really interesting, I have the Alien quadrilogy. My parents were really smart and bought it for me when I was 12, right? Which is great. I loved it. I still love it. On the front of this quadrilogy box set, it's got the alien actually eating its own tail in a circle.
Yeah,
right?
It's an Ouroboros. That's why I wanted to know whether or not the regular xenomorphs, like the foot soldiers, can become a queen, because then it would be a perfect circle of like, this thing can just reproduce ad infinitum. I don't know. I'll have to look that up later.
Yeah, it's probably somewhere in like
Yell at us in the comments, folks, if we're missing out on any crucial parts of the lore.
Right? So yeah, I get it. It wasn't my favorite just because, again, for me, it like diminished it just a little bit and it, I don't know, simplified what is in my mind a very efficient and complex creature. It did add a new angle. Even during that scene, were they able to get away with more than probably what they should have been able to get away with?
I think they got a little... I wouldn't say they were able to get through that without getting fucked up. It feels like they should have lost somebody in that sequence.
Like, even if they didn't lose somebody, like, you know, how much that it took to actually stir, like, one to actually into action. And there's that point where, like, our android friend, he's, like, turns around, he's like, run, right? You know, so dramatic. I don't know. That was, like, very action movie, like, I don't know, really like Transformers sort of thing.
I can kind of see the argument of, like, they were nerfed just to have this little scenario play out.
The fact that like he was able to like be on the phone and talk and like he was like tearing up as like his friend.
That should have been it. Somebody should have died for.
Yeah, like let's not make the creature this dumb. Like we blinded it with the heat thing, but like you're obviously being what I would consider loud enough for a face hugger that's only a few feet away to be like, all right, there's something over there.
Yeah, but if they have no sense of hearing, I can kind of get it.
Okay, yeah,
it's hard to say.
True. Okay, and you're bringing up a good point. Let's bring up another spoiler.
Yeah. So the pet peeve I had with the CGI.
Yeah.
So throughout the movie, like incredible practical effects. Every monster looked good. They broke out the old suits for the xenomorph. In Covenant, it was completely CGI, but like I kind of like the image of them crawling because you can tell it's a dude in a suit a little bit.
Yeah.
Basically, there's a throwback to the very first movie. The robot in that movie, Ash, he is one of a line of robots in the same way that, you know, David and Walter were like kind of made from the same mold.
Yep.
There's a cyborg in this movie named Rook, and he is a poor CGI of the actor that played Ash. And it looks like dog shit every time he's on screen.
Yeah.
To the point where, like, you have to know. You have to know it doesn't look good, so you must be doing it intentionally. Because all the xenomorphs look great, all the facehuggers look great. The abomination at the end of the movie looks great, believable. Yeah. And I didn't need that throwback. That would be where like you're trying to cater to me a little too much.
Okay, so there's that we both didn't like. I will say I like the sneakers. That is like one of those really subtle, direct throwbacks, and I'm like, yeah, that's cool. And it's just like the fact that there are beat up Converse and high tops. Yeah, that's the vibe. Okay, big thing for me I didn't like, and I think that most Alien fans would agree, is that the development, the face hugger to chest burster, was so damn fast. The pace between these different stages of Alien
gets faster every movie.
Yeah, at least with other films, like we had this idea that time passes. It was taking hours before.
And I'll be honest, like I'm getting confused about what the life cycle of the alien is. Because after the miniature xenomorph pops out, it goes off, it sheds its skin, and then you assume it just reaches that full black form. But it kind of had like a chrysalis this time. I like the imagery of it. I thought it's cool, but is this just a part of the process we've never seen, where it kind of reaches its full size in like a cocoon?
Yeah.
What's the utility of that?
Here's one thing I'll identify that's maybe thematically there and maybe some people don't know about is that like if you look at like H.R. Geiger, his artwork in general, highly sexualized, all of it. And that's like very apparent in like the first film and whatever. And this thing, right, you know, that we saw this like sack that it was in.
It looked like a womb.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
The opening looked very reminiscent of the female sex organ.
Yeah. I forget there's a word like, you know, for males it's phallic and then for it's like yonic.
Yonic?
That's what it is.
We learned a new word today, folks.
Yes. So yeah, very yonic, right? But one thing that I always have a hard time wrapping my head around is like, okay, this thing gets bigger and bigger and whatever, or maybe it's like it's got this cocoon that it develops in.
Would you say it's a grower?
Not a shower, no. But like the thing about it is just like if you want to get bigger and stronger, you have to eat more, right?
It makes sense that there'd be something in that process from being like the size of a doll to being larger than a human.
Yeah, and
it's the size of Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah, right. And it's got to eat something to get bigger, but you know, like especially with like these films and how fast it progressed, it didn't. Even with like Alien 3, like the dog alien was smaller. Right. And then it got bigger to eventually full size, which is still like not huge because of the type of alien that it was. But like, you know, we saw a progression, right, in the size. And even in like Alien Covenant, you know, like when the alien like burst out of the back and it was like actually a more full grown alien, not just a chest burster, it still makes sense. Like, okay, it still has a host that it can feed off of and develop maybe a little differently than we've seen it before. But there's still things that it can eat and they can thrive off of inside in the same way that like a child develops.
I don't think I've ever seen an alien consume food. Like when it shoots that little inner mouth out, is that it feeding on something? Or is it just like a kill blow? You know what I mean?
I think it's a kill blow. If you look at how victims are like strung up in like larger alien colonies, which we saw that in this one, we definitely see that in Aliens, you know, where that guy is like up there famously, he's like, kill me, right? And then they torch him. I wonder if it's actually more like a spider where it like sucks out the insides, right? Because these people are left whole still, like their skeletons or whatever are still encapsulated like, you know, again, like a spider would. Yeah. And it, like the people are still alive in the same way that a spider would. Kind of like
Cell from Dragon Ball Z. He has that tail that he kind of sucks like a mosquito. Is that what that little mouth does? Is like kind of, I don't know. I've never seen it happen in a movie, to my knowledge.
You assume that it happens in one way or another, but I think like it really takes after the whole spider concept.
Does the state of the host matter for how well the alien can grow? Because it's a parasite, right?
Yeah.
If your host is emaciated and doesn't have a lot of nutrition to host the alien, does it need to have another step in that process? Is that maybe why it had to cocoon itself and grow more?
Well, the character that the chest burster came from was not emaciated, right? You know, they were still
it was a skinny girl, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, Alien, I mean, that happened to Ripley. Like Ripley was also a very skinny female, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that argument really holds up. I'm just
No.
Because even the dude in the original movie, I forget what his name is. He was just, you know, skinny British dude, I guess.
Yeah.
So I don't know. To your point, like if you're going to introduce new parts of the lore, you have to kind of explain it instead of just showing it.
Yeah. Especially with that research, an R&D ship, for instance, you could like explain a lot of this by like walking past maybe like test tubes.
Yeah, maybe
you know that
see,
show
like,
development, or like maybe like a big wall length schematic as they're talking, and it like shows different pictures of the stages of development. You know, without necessarily having to dedicate like dialogue to it.
And I will state that I don't really care for like the purity of like the lore all lining up with each other as long as I'm enjoying myself. Mm-hmm. Whereas it might be more of a like deal breaker for you where it's like, okay, you're breaking the idea of this world.
Yeah, I guess I'm torn between those two things, being a purist and still enjoying the series for what it is. So, well, you're tearing me apart, Lisa.
Yeah. So I guess the next major plot point, obviously they get on the ship, things go to shit. And the significance of this setting is that it's one of the locations where I guess they were synthesizing that engineer blood, whatever that liquid was that I guess led to the creation of the human race. And I guess they've devised their Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, perfect mixture of it can enhance humanity and you can have all the benefits, none of the drawbacks of what xenomorphs enjoy, their quick healing factor, you know, their ability to withstand anything. I thought that was cool to bring that back. I thought it kind of fulfilled the promise made in Prometheus that you're going to see this reappear at some point in the narrative of the series.
And I think that also fits right in with the previous Alien series when they still like continue with that purpose. And then you still have Rook. That's like, I'm going to create my own purpose. And then like pawn off that serum and try to get it back to Earth and fuck them up, right?
So I interpreted it as more as just he's like the soulless company man that's just trying to accomplish the mission for his primary directive.
You would say that, but we saw that video of the rat like even after it gets restored after they crushed it, right? You see it actually like start to grow out and then like took the form of an alien and like died.
Yeah.
And thematically throughout the entire series, we have this whole cyborgs wanting to be human thing. Look at David. He wanted to be human. He wanted to feel and create.
I didn't get the impression Rook had developed that like grudge against humankind though. I thought that was something that was very unique to David because he was created essentially with the human sensibility to be creative and to have those incongruous feelings that lead humanity to make substance out of their limited lifespans.
Yeah.
So David was kind of obsessed with creating a masterpiece so he could justify his immortal existence.
Sure. But we still see the same tug by the lead cyborg character.
Out of all the characters in the movie, the android character is probably the most interesting because it's in a context we've never seen it. In Aliens, the cyborg, the android, it's usually like the hidden danger of the movie. You know what I mean? The alien is the direct danger, but it's usually that you're in this cynical corporate world and there's people that are going to value profit over human life. That is what the android has stood in for, is the person that sees humanity very cynically and expendable for the goals of this faceless corporation or this faceless millionaire rich guy or whatever.
Yeah.
In this movie, the android is like a damaged model that the main character's father found in a heap.
Yeah.
Reprogrammed it to be like a protector for his daughter. And they have like a very sibling relationship. The main character, the Ripley Stanton, and this android named Andy. But Andy's kind of damaged. They play it as a dynamic of like you have a sibling that's like maybe mentally impaired or
neurodivergent. Yeah, exactly.
And it does a lot for their relationship. You actually like the dynamic the characters have. It's something you haven't seen in these movies before. Mm-hmm. But there's a point in the movie where they're on the ship, the aliens are popping out. They're like, what the fuck do we do? So they take a chip out of Rook and put it in Andy just so he can get the information. And it kind of gives his personality software an upgrade too. He becomes more succinct, more intelligent. He has a larger base of information. But he also, unfortunately, gets that corporate agenda of my primary objective now, instead of protecting my sister figure, is to get this serum, this engineered DNA, whatever, back into the hands of somebody that can use it for their nefarious immortality purpose or whatever.
And we do see those little bits of humanity try to poke through here and there. And for instance, their friend was on the other side and the alien was behind them. And, you know, there's that little bit of push-pull, just like, is he going to open the door to, like, help them save their friend in spite of the fact that it would kill them or not? And then, you know, we find out that he doesn't.
But I like how they also justify it in plot, too, because the idea that these kids have reaching the ship to try and loot it for goods is that they can escape their shitty little prison work camp life by looting this ship. But the main character won't be able to bring her faux brother with her when they get where they're going. So he has that feeling of like, oh, I'm just going to be abandoned like a piece of junk if we see this thing to completion. So they kind of play that like, well, you're going to screw me over. Should I screw you over?
But which, you know, I definitely like. And I do like that character.
Great actor, by the way.
Yeah.
Because he played those two versions of that character very distinctly and differently.
He actually reminded me of Gus from like Breaking Bad.
Oh, yeah.
Right? In terms of like that sternness and that flat affect, it's not just a mood shift, but even just everything in his stature to his facial expressions. So, yeah, he did that very well.
So after we get down to this room where they kind of stumble upon this serum and this like, we're leaving, but we're bringing this with us, it kind of shifts into an Aliens kind of vibe where the xenomorphs are out and you have to shoot your way out to survive.
Yeah, which is cool. I like that little bit of throwback and like the auto-aiming guns. I mean, that's something that we saw or like have a pretty good hint of before.
Was that weapon established earlier in the series?
Yes, or the fact that the gun could like actually move
like,
off axis.
Move to headshots. They have this weapon stored in this laboratory that is essentially like a battle rifle that can like adjust to automatically find a headshot on its target.
Which
kind of runs the line of ruining immersion, but it kind of makes sense that it would exist in this universe.
So one thing that was established right in the beginning and is like one of those artificial gravity being turned on and off, right?
The ship is malfunctioning. It's turning on and off as the characters are going through.
The generator just discharging here and there. So occasionally there's gravity and other times there's not. Now, when they turn the ship on throughout the rest of the film, it's got gravity. So then they're operating through their environment just as you normally would expect. Now, during this scene where it's like the spray and pray trying to get through all the xenomorphs, they turn it off.
If they shoot the alien, the acid blood is going to leak through the hull, and then you're fucked because, Space.
Yeah.
They turn off the gravity so they can shoot the xenomorphs and the blood will stay in the air.
Yeah, the acidic blood will just sort of float, and it ends up being like this like vortex.
I thought it was an interesting way to use that acid blood, but I get the feeling you think it was more gimmicky and kind of dumb.
Yeah, that. You read my mind. No, again, very video gamey. There's that practical part of me, just like, oh yeah, if you shoot something, it'll be literally everywhere and even in little particles. I feel like there's other ways they could have like approached that where like maybe, in terms of like killing the xenomorphs without like destroying the hull because the acid blood, it's just like, okay, we can only kill them on their territory because their blood is not going to burn through their own environment,
go
right?
Through their own like nesting.
Exactly. Kind of mimics like gameplay for me.
I tend to like when people swing for the fences and take little creative risks like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't really break immersion for me, but it's one of those things where the more you watch the movie, the more you're probably going to be like, that kind of seems like bullshit. It rides the line of almost being like fan fiction-y.
Yeah.
So at this point, it's literally just the main character, the android Andy, and then there's another character in the movie that kind of got taken out of the game. Also, a very important note, she is pregnant.
Yes.
She ends up being alive in the nesting. They get her out. She kind of retreats to the ship.
And she was already wounded and knew enough about the serum to know that it could help her heal all of her wounds and whatnot. But we find out that this is mucho bad. Yeah.
Heals her wounds in the moment, but as it was demonstrated with the mouse in the laboratory, it kind of goes rogue at a certain point and gives you more xenomorph-like properties. The moment I realized that they left her in the elevator with the serum, I'm like, oh shit, I see what they're setting up. And I'm so excited to see where this goes. The baby in this pregnant girl is going to be affected by the serum, and you're going to have to fight this fucking monster.
Which they do, because that happens. And it is a wretched-looking monster. It is pretty horrifying, which I thought it was going to be an engineer.
It has engineer features?
Yeah, it has engineer features, but it's not...
pure, yeah.
Yeah.
You brought up that in the fourth original Alien movie that there is like a human-alien hybrid.
Yep.
Which essentially looks like a xenomorph with human skin. And I think this is a first where it's like more of like an actual human xenomorph hybrid. Where it's like the other one was finding like a middle ground between the features of both. This one's like, what if a human was a xenomorph? And I was so excited to see it. This thing is very misproportioned. It's like 8 to 9 feet tall.
The neck is way
emaciated.
Too long.
It looks like something out of an Aphex Twin video. This thing is fucked. It looks so fucking scary. So one of the things I loved about it most is that it did resemble a human and it made human facial expressions.
Yeah.
The xenomorph is scary because it's kind of like the most fuck-ass version of an ant. It's an emotionless thing, baring its teeth. The hybrid actually like smiled really creepily. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh shit, is that what the xenomorphs are feeling when they're attacking things? Is like a state of ecstasy? Or is that just like the combination of human features with the xenomorph?
Yeah, right. And we see this first attack on the mother.
Correct me if I'm wrong. In the fourth movie, the hybrid is like directly made from Ripley's clone. And it kind of like recognized that was its mother.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it like, initially it gets closer, like sniffs her out and then like licks her and it's like making like noises,
Even in Covenant, like when David encounters like the proto-xenomorph, it doesn't attack him immediately. He tries to establish like a trust and bond with it because he's fascinated by his creation.
Yeah.
But this thing just kills its mother, man. It doesn't have any loyalty to anything.
So this is what I was talking about, like right at the beginning of this episode, right? In terms of just like more emotionally complex in Alien 4 versus this, where it's just like, oh, this thing is wretched and it's made from Ripley and it's a bastardization of both. But at the same time, she kills her infant. And this thing is like, as it's being sucked out, it is crying out. And at the same time, we almost get this weird pull, like right at the end of it. Like, ew, gross. Why am I feeling this?
Yeah.
Right? If there was like a little bit more development in the moment, I think that would have been a really cool, a little bit more subtle thing that could have happened.
If there was a more complicated relationship between this hybrid and its mother.
Yeah.
But I also like that there wasn't, because Alien Romulus and Remus, raised by wolves.
And I mean, like, the whole look of it and the fact that it's so disproportional, it's so tall, it's gangly, like some of the joints bend
It's an
backwards.
abomination through and through. Like, it looks like it shouldn't fit together well, and it doesn't. But the longer it's in the movie, the more parts of it start to, like, right itself. It seems like it starts to take on more xenomorphic properties.
Yeah.
As, like, its weird broken body is kind of fixed.
I mean, I wonder, like, if it actually stayed in its infant state just a little bit longer, if I would have developed more sympathy or empathy for it. And then I would have felt more conflicted as it like turned into this really awful thing. And mind you, in terms of what we were talking about earlier, when everything develops so damn fast, like this thing went from being a bean to being 8 foot tall in a matter of minutes.
But at the same time, like, I'm fine with it just being terrifying. And the first time you see it, it's fully grown and it's just peering at you. And it's just so uncanny and fucked up that I felt immediately more anxious than I had throughout the rest of the film.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not necessarily afraid of the xenomorph and the facehugger at this point.
Sure. I guess like I'm still maybe just stuck with the pace at which these things grow at.
Yeah.
Just keep getting exponentially faster. And that like part of the fear that I associate with the xenomorph is that you do get to see it grow.
The fear of it is the waiting game.
Yeah, exactly. Versus like pouring like Kool-Aid powder into water. And it's like, it's Kool-Aid.
It's red now. There you go. Drink up.
So, end of the film, spoiler alert, they kill the thing.
They beat the thing.
They beat the thing.
A spectacle. It looks amazing. They kick it out of the ship.
I will say one of the things that we didn't go over is that this is on a timeline, right?
The moment that they get onto this abandoned ship to try and scavenge it for parts, it's like it's drifting into, I guess, an asteroid belt.
Yeah,
just
that
the ring
surrounds
of
a planet. Yeah, kind of like Saturn.
Yeah, so there's a time limit. They got to get in, get out. Yeah. The alien attacks happen. And at the end of the movie, like, that ship does crash, and then their escape vessel also is under that same threat because I guess it goes off of autopilot.
Yeah, and the fact that like the timeline runs almost in like real time. There's not that much separation time-wise between the screen and the seat. That I actually really appreciated. Versus like an action movie. They don't sleep, they don't shit, they never refuel for gas, right?
Yeah.
All these things, and then like they fight during the night, and then they go through the day, and you just like mentally make up for it. You're like, oh yeah, that's the way the news goes.
Yeah, that's the way the news goes.
So yeah, that's actually one of the more like, I don't want to say subtle things that I really appreciated because that doesn't happen in most films ever.
Yeah, I think the Alien series is very good at that too. They're good at giving you multiple things to worry about.
Yeah, and just like enough detail for you to like process it and think it through versus like maybe other movies that have aliens or whatnot. They skip over a lot of details and just focus on like the action and just like, oh, you're running, you're in fear, you're trying to survive and whatever. Whereas like, you know, there's that exploratory, hey, can we get this thing off of this person? Let's try practical things. Can we shock it? You know, well, it's going to choke them, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Like, what are we going to do? And like, you see people actively trying different things in the same way that if you were to be in a situation like that or in just in any situation in life where you don't exactly know what's going on, you try to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
And they're actively trying to figure it out in a way that like I would. And that's how I can relate to the characters more.
A lot of the best horror movies and games, it's figuring out a puzzle in some capacity.
Yeah.
While, I mean, there's this ticking clock of like the monster's coming to get you or other things like a ship's about to crash or the mansion's about to explode.
Yeah. even though I was like, kind of shitting on the whole heat signature thing with the
I feel like
face
you might
huggers,
like these things on repeat viewings more than you do now.
Yeah, I probably do.
Yeah,
but the act of trying to figuring out and then, hey, we discover something. I still appreciate that.
So I'd say like my final thoughts on the movie, I really enjoyed it. As far as I'm concerned, this is in the better side of things. If I were to give like my favorites of like the top 3 movies in the series, I would say Alien 1 at number 1. Number 2 is Prometheus, and I think number 3 would be Romulus, and then Covenant after that maybe, and then Aliens, Alien 3, Alien... Well, actually, I think I'd put Alien 4 above Alien 3, just because I haven't seen it, and people don't seem to like it, but I also like David Fincher, so I don't know when I get there. Maybe we'll reassess.
Okay, so I think for me, like, definitely Alien. I mean, the first one. Also number 2, Prometheus for me. But number 3 for me is Aliens. And then I would put Covenant. I would put Romulus. Like I said, Romulus is a little bit more like middle of the pack for me. And then 3 and then 4. I still like the whole idea of like the dog alien. That's a cool concept.
I haven't seen it, but I don't know. I might feel differently when I see it.
I'd imagine like maybe not actually. Like, but it's just I love Alien.
No.
So it's
that's
so
the
great
cool
to see.
thing about the Xenomorph is that whatever its host is, it takes on the features of. I think that's the only reason people liked Alien versus Predator 2 is the Pred Alien at the end of it.
Yeah, you see that and you're like, oh shit. I do like Alien 3 though because of how like grungy it was. Yeah. But overall, positive.
I enjoyed Romulus a lot. It's a good entry in a series that's old at this point, but I mean, it's still got some gas left in the tank.
Even against my purest nature, I still enjoyed it. I would go watch it again, and I would go watch it in theaters again. I'd pay the $20 and get my like super buttery popcorn. And you know what? I forgot to mention. I'm going to just throw this out there. We're not going to explore it because we're at the end of it. But the whole idea of the Weyland-Yutani ship and like the whole crew is decimated and that it's drifting into the asteroid belt. Why would Weyland-Yutani just let their ship just drift? I mean, I would like get some mercenaries on a ship. Go get my thing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Literally the thing that most of this series is based on is about to go into a meat grinder. You think there would be like some kind of extraction crew that goes in. Yeah. But maybe like there was an explanation that just got buried in dialogue I missed. But god damn it, man. I wish you had some scary stories so I could have had you on the main show. But it's been really great talking to you about this movie.
Likewise. This is great.
A lot of fucking fun.
Yeah, lots of fun. I've not just like audio supported wise, but as just a friend supported this from like day one. Still love it.
Let me gush about this dude. Like he whipped up the intro to the show in literally like 15 minutes in front of me.
Well, it's not even like you helped make it, right? I had you play the keyboard.
3 notes on the piano, and then you literally turned it into a full melody.
And I'm glad you're still using it.
Yeah. I love the intro to the show. At some point in the future, I feel like it'd be good to have like a violin version of it.
Ooh.
Yeah, or even just like a violin version of the jingle without dialogue. If I ever get to the point where I want to abridge the intro to like maybe 10, 15 seconds, that's probably what I'd do. But yeah, variations on it would be fun in the future.
Well, the world's our oyster, but glad to see that we're on this is episode 37. That's awesome.
Yeah,
right? I was with you on episode 1.
I was editing what will be the 37th episode today. And I was like, holy shit, I've almost made 40 episodes of this.
Yeah.
That's a big number.
Yeah, dude. That's awesome.
It's crazy to think that it's been going on that long. There are that many episodes. But I couldn't have done it without you, buddy. I'm really happy that like you've been involved with it. Before the show even started, I was like, I wonder if Eric knows somebody that can help me with this, thinking that like you're busy, you've got your own things going on. He's not going to want to lower. You literally have 2 Grammys for sound design right now. I mean, you're a professional sound engineer, and it's fucking dope to work with you on a project.
Appreciate the doting, right? But at the same time, it's just like happy to have been there up to the point where like you're nearly 40 episodes deep, and then I get to be on one. That's fucking awesome.
It's fucking rad.
Yeah, so I appreciate it, man.
So I think we'll leave it at that, folks. Thanks for popping in. This is longer than PEEKABOOs usually are, but you know what? We had a lot of fun talking about the series, and it's good to have some bulky episodes every now and again. The next one's probably going to be the longest so far. But
a spoiler. What's the next one going to be? Can we hear it? Or
it was over 3 hours long in the recording sessions. It'll probably be well over 2 hours when it's done. That's the reason the next episode's taking a while. This is going to be a quick turnaround. This will probably be up in the next 2 or 3 days. That one might take another week, just depending on things. But
so we don't know what is the content of that one, but we'll just have to wait and see.
It's an interview with a very renowned figure that I've had on the show before. The funny thing is, like, every time I think, like, this is going to be the biggest episode, I end up cutting it down to, like, 45 minutes for one reason or another, but this won't be like that. Folks, thanks for listening to me ramble. We'll see you on the next Peekaboo. I don't know what the next movie will be, but there will definitely be more in the future. Yeah. There'll probably be something A24 neon related.
Yeah, and spooky season is right around the corner.
Fucking October's coming up, baby. Bye, folks.